This is Creativate. Discover creativity and innovation in the world around us and get inspired to pursue your creative passion.
What's happening? Welcome to Creativate Live. And whether you're joining us on the podcast or watching on YouTube, we're just so glad that you're here. My name is Jason, and as always, joined by Kylie Danskin.
Hello.
Hi, Kylie.
It feels a little weird this time.
Okay, yes. First and most obvious thing, at least for those watching on YouTube, is that we're not in the same room. We're coming to you and recording this via Zoom. And gosh, strange times. Strange times, Kylie.
It is strange. Yeah. But you know what? I'm so thankful that we have like a way to still record and still communicate, even though we're not in the studio in the same room.
Yeah.
Actually, now that I'm looking at your screen, where are you? What's behind you?
Yeah. Well, this is the graffiti wall that I've been working on for probably the last year or so. There's the three, you got the three characters there in the middle, and there's just kind of a whole story that
a can of spinach, I see.
Yes. Also, because this doubles as my workout room, so if I'd pan left here, there's things that are supposed to keep you in shape. But
yeah, it's kind of a weird time though. I mean, I've got two little kids at home, so it's been interesting staying connected. My kids, they're trying to do school, but it's like virtual school. So there's, 3 to 4 Zoom call meetings a week with teachers, and just trying to work from home, and it's a little crazy right now.
Yeah. And talk about trying to get creative, because I've got a couple kids, little ones running around here too. Number one, I appreciate teachers more than I ever have in my entire life. We just love and appreciate our teachers more than we ever have. And then also just being creative about, all right, like what projects are we going to do? How are we going to, just all of that, it comes into play. In fact, one of the projects that we did, so I had been working on this wall, and over here, if I'm panning just a little bit, this spot right here, this little castle, and these are unicorns down here.
Of course they are
my daughters that are getting involved in that space over there. So
that is adorable. It kind of goes with it too. I love graffiti.
Yeah.
Definitely an interesting time though. Like even when we talked about this, I'm so excited about this episode. This is probably one of my favorite topics that we threw out about, to even just talk about. And so I am a little bummed that we're not like in the same room and getting to like really talk about it, but I'm still glad that we're not skipping it, because today's episode is called Don't Go to Art School.
Don't go to art school. And we're hitting close to home for you, because as I recall, you're going to art school.
I'm in the thick of it right now. Obviously, when I signed up for my classes this semester, I did not think that we would be quarantined and a global pandemic would hit. And I used to have, a pretty good window of time a day where my kids were at school. So I'd be able to work on my own homework and my projects. And it's been a challenge, I would say, right now in this season of going to art school. But the reason why we wanted to talk about it is because I think it's kind of a controversial topic. Like, I am for art school. Obviously, I'm in it right now. I'm going. And I have so many conversations with people daily just about how much I love school, how much I'm learning. But it's funny because there's a lot of moments too where I get pushback of, wow, that's interesting that you're going to art school, like, what do you, how are you going to make money? And, just like funny little comments that people make.
Well, I remember even recently, you and I had a conversation over where we normally do our recording.
Yes,
do you remember this conversation?
Yeah. Okay. Let me tell it.
Yeah. You do
it. We were about to record an episode of Creativate, and we were just talking about, I think just design in general, art, design, kind of just like talking about that world. And I had mentioned loving graphics, loving graphic design. And one of our friends was standing there, and he said, so casually too, "Oh, I would be so upset if one of my kids said that they wanted to go to school for art, like art school, or become a graphic designer." And it was one of those moments where I was like, because he doesn't,
Ugh.
yeah, just like, oh, it's so painful. And so I was like, that's interesting. Like, why would you be so sad, you know? And he mentioned, he was like, well, there's just so many apps and things you can use today where it kind of feels like a dying field. And he even hit on, what is that? Oh, Fiverr.
Well, there's a number of them, right? Fiverr, I think, is the one that he mentioned. 99 Designs.
Yep.
There's a number of them, and admittedly, I mean, I know you and I had a little bit of a conversation afterwards, and we're going to get into it in much more depth here today. But I've actually used some of those just kind of quick contractor services for voiceover for things that are really, really particular, especially
Okay.
now. You and I kind of work within the same small circle
Right.
of designers and videographers, and we've got a lot of resources and great people that we work with. But there are occasionally those
Right.
kind of niche things that come up, and you're like, man, I need this for this project at this time, or maybe
Right.
my main person is working on something over here, and I just need something else. And so there have been
You
times.
have, yeah.
I have, admittedly, yeah.
I started reading the book Big Magic, and it's by one of my favorite authors, Elizabeth Gilbert. And I was so inspired by the book. I was like, actually, when I say reading, I had headphones and it was an audible, but it was her reading it, and so it just felt even more like inspirational. And I was like, oh my word, I am so ready to like go after my art, and I'm going to create something. And then the next chapter happened, and she basically
The next
was
chapter
like,
happened. I love the way that that
yeah,
you put that. And
I did.
then,
Yeah. And then the
yeah,
next chapter happened, and she basically was like, don't go to art school. And it was this painful moment where I'm like, this is someone that I just like really value and love, and I'm like into this book. And it was so discouraging. And that's where like she had a lot of good points, and I get where she's coming from in that chapter. But I think that's what kind of struck me as, this is probably something we should talk about, because there might be some artists out there that need inspiration, or they, you know what I mean? And maybe they want to go to school, maybe they're on the edge. And I think that's kind of the tension I wanted to talk about, because I am for art school. I know that there's different situations and reasons for other people, but I kind of wanted to hear a little bit on your side of, I mean, we've mentioned this before, but you
yeah.
have run a lot of creative teams. You've hired and put together and formed, teams to help brand companies and whatever it is. And so I kind of wanted to know from your standpoint, like, do you think going to art school is valuable?
Yeah, and this is one where we will probably have a healthy debate here. Which is good. I tend to say art school is unnecessary, and kind of land on
Ooh,
that side of the fence for this one.
okay.
And there are several reasons for that. And like you said, I think that in having put several different teams together over the years, there are advantages that can come along with a formal education. And then there are things that just I would just say can't be taught in some ways, just that
Right.
are kind of a pure talent, or a talent that existed and then was thereafter developed with hard work and the tutorials and whatever else is out there. Because there are, as you know, a lot of resources out there for
Right.
budding and developing artists.
Oh, absolutely.
um, yeah, so I am looking forward to this conversation. But actually, so our remote producer is giving us a little wave here
Oh, okay.
electronically. We have a guest on today, so I think what we'll do is break in, if you're okay with this, Kylie, because
Perfect.
we need to talk about the nuts and bolts, and I want to give it a ton of time because I think it's a
Right.
worthwhile conversation. But we've got a segment here today.
Oh, I'm excited
Um,
about this.
yeah, and the segment is called "I Just Can't."
Okay.
and we've got a guest coming on in just any minute here. You want to intro Bryan the Designer?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this segment is I Just Can't, and we are bringing in for the first time ever Bryan the Designer. And maybe you're thinking, who is this guy? You know him.
Yes.
You've probably worked on a creative team with this guy. Maybe you've worked for this guy, or this guy's worked for you, but he is that designer in a room that always has an opinion on everything.
Right. There's always a guy sitting there. You present something, and I'm not even talking about the client side now. I'm talking about like in the room, just about to go to the client. So sometimes this guy does sit on the client side, and he's just like, hey, I've got something to say. And so Bryan the Designer is here with us. Bryan, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Bryan.
We can hear you.
Can I turn on my video now?
Turn it on.
Please.
I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know if it was like you turned it on for me.
No, welcome to the show. Welcome to Creative 8 Live, my friend, and we're excited to have you and your opinions.
Thanks for inviting me on, and thanks for inviting my opinions.
Bryan,
you guys both look great.
Oh, sweet. Thanks.
Well, thanks, Bryan.
Kylie's got kind of a Pier 1 Imports vibe.
Yep.
Jason's kind of got like a I might sell you weed vibe, which
right,
is
yeah, it's
rather
pretty.
have like more like an anthropology vibe, but I'll take Pier 1.
No, I meant anthropology.
Excuse me. Bryan, so excited to have you on, and Kylie and I, having known you over the years, there's never a shortage of opinions. From you, Bryan.
Well, usually they're free too, which is the best part. I don't charge. They just.
Some would call them hand grenades as you throw them out into the room.
No one has ever said hand grenades.
I like to think that I'm an arms dealer of creative opinions.
Ooh.
Perfect.
That would be a great on like a email signature.
That's how I think of myself. I'm the arms dealer of creative opinions. Not only do I have them, I equip others with them.
Oh.
Yes.
That's good.
And they love grenades.
So I think we're gonna show you some images, Bryan, and we just want to know what your opinion is. Are you ready?
Right.
Yeah.
And again, Bryan, I don't know if you heard this on the way in, but this segment is called "I Just Can't." I just can't, because I've heard you utter these words before, and
you guys, you're gonna raise my blood pressure. Is there a theme to these, or is it just kind of like ad hoc, right? Like, is this like?
I don't think there's a theme.
There's not. So this is really kind of just random images that we grab throughout the week, and let's just put a disclaimer out there. If there's anybody watching or listening that these were your designs, gosh. Man.
Tune off now. Tune out. I want to hop out now.
But Bryan, we just want your honest opinion, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go through these. And all right, so what I'm gonna do is, let's see if I can get this right. All right, this is the first one, Bryan. Here we go.
I'm nervous. You kind of built.
Here we go. Can you see?
Yeah.
Chris,
Wow.
hey.
I gotta soak. I'm kind of I'm sponging it right now.
Let it wash over you. Let it wash over you.
This is a sizzler. So just right off, I'm gonna kind of give you my just right off the bat.
Yeah. First off,
I like all of they did all of it, and then they're like, the cup needs to be gold. That was a good touch. I almost can feel or hear the brain of like the owner just saying like, I need to see more Phoenix.
Yep.
Like if there was a designer who probably showed their work and they were like, if I don't see more Phoenix, you're fired.
Well, if ever we've heard something in its designers, is it make my logo bigger? And I feel like
get the logo bigger and get the steam out there. Get the gold cup, get the steam really moving.
The steam almost feels like it's going into a heart shape to me, Like it's almost there, but not quite.
There's the Phoenix and there's like you love it so much. Talk to me about this. So this typography is like half regrettable tattoo, half like one of those night like dining restaurants. You know what I'm talking about? Where the nights
Yeah, the late night
Oh my
diner.
word!
Yeah.
Like a medieval restaurant.
Medieval restaurant. It's like both of those.
Jousting? Were they like joust in front of you?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. This
Now,
feels like, I'm gonna
because
be honest, this feels like the kind of place where my coffee would be burnt. That is like the general opinion I have. And I know it says deli, and I maybe the deli's good, but for sure my coffee's burnt.
exactly, and so I think we're talking about a couple of things. So from a design standpoint, fonts are a thing, color
Oh.
schemes are a thing, and really when I when I look at this, a brand guide is a thing too. Where are we headed?
Yeah.
So if we were to be constructive now, because some of our
The person who made this is on the call. In
You're
just a second, we're
trying
gonna bring
right
him
now.
on.
So let me just describe. I'm being reminded by our producer that there are people listening on the podcast, so I might just describe this.
Oh,
All right.
that's right.
So Sam is reminding us that there are people listening. So we're looking
Can
at
I take a stab at? Can I take a
Yeah,
stab?
Yes,
actually,
yes.
Jason, let's let Bryan the designer.
Okay. Yes.
Go ahead
Okay.
and describe.
I want so it says Phoenix Squire in a font that I would say is like lower back tattoo. If a lower back tattoo for someone who loves old knights and like Renaissance fairs.
There's like shadowing even.
The
There's
P of the word Phoenix is maybe the kind of bare bones of a phoenix. There's some fire involved. Then underneath Phoenix Square, there's a gold mug, and I cannot emphasize gold enough. It actually looks like everything else looks kind of illustrated, and this looks like a piece of gold as a mug. And then there's steam coming up over the word Phoenix, and then below it, as if there wasn't enough, it just says deli and coffee shop.
in like a green color.
Like a dark green with a drop shadow that really makes it pop.
Right. Drop shadow, dark green.
You know what, Bryan?
Not
You nailed
similar.
that. You
How
nailed that.
fun would it be to go retroactively and build a brand guide around this one logo?
I'm not sure it would be possible. It would be
It
volumes.
would say pops of color, just gold. Just
Go
like
with it.
all gold.
Just go with
There
it.
needs to be one gold chalice per design.
You know what?
Okay,
you know
so
what
this
I
is
find
one of-
interesting is
Yeah.
like, why isn't the head? Because you said that the P is really like, emphasizing this phoenix, but why wouldn't the head of the phoenix
Bird be the P?
it almost looks like a B at first, because we got the
Phoenix feels more complex than it needs to be. Like, just look at the amount of wings, and then I think the P is
and gradients.
Yeah, the
I love a good gradient. Let's not knock on gradients, but
the gradients. I see this a lot. I don't know if you guys, because I like coffee and I like to go get coffee, but can we say to all designers who are designing for coffee shop, the steam isn't really necessary.
yeah.
I don't think we get it. It's hot.
It's hot.
We weren't
If you
worried
order
about
a
that.
coffee, and it's gonna be, you're right.
That wasn't a selling point. It was like, man, finally somewhere that has it hot.
Someone got it right. It's gonna be a hot coffee.
Maybe though they're doing a play on like Phoenix and like flames and hot. And
Oh, Kylie, you're going deep here. You're going deep.
I am way deeper than a coffee logo needs to go, but
You know what they missed? You know what they missed in this logo? Because they hit it all. They got the Phoenix. They got the hot coffee. No deli.
Yeah, where's the deli?
I don't
Ice
see the
salami.
food.
You're selling me hard on the coffee, but the deli isn't coming through here.
That's
Also-
what I really wanted.
I would think that coffee would come first, like coffee and a deli shop, but they
And a
like
deli.
went for it with deli.
Well,
first.
because you know what will get you there is because of the gold mug.
It's
It does really feel like they're selling the coffee.
If you're selling coffee in gold chalices, as indicated here,
then you get to.
then you don't have to worry about
Okay.
the deli.
Let's
Oh.
all of us
so-
need to think.
so
All
I
of us
think-
need to think of us. How about we do this? All of us need to think of a state where this coffee shop exists, and on the count of three, we say that state.
I already know where it's from.
No, do you really?
No, but I know.
Is it because I was gonna guess Arizona and you're
It's
from
Arizona.
That's
It's gotta.
gotta be.
It's in the heart of Phoenix, Arizona.
I was like,
I'm
this
from.
is the most Phoenix, Arizona design I've ever
Square.
seen.
Guys,
It's like
I
their
am
state
called
flag.
Phoenix Square.
I am from Arizona. I've lived in Phoenix, and this would go there.
It might be their state flag.
So
I think that Phoenix is the state bird.
No, it's
the
not.
gold
Please
cup
tell me
is-
Phoenix is not the state bird of Arizona of Phoenix.
Oh,
Oh
now
my
I have to look it
gosh.
up. I feel
Wait,
embarrassed.
are there more or is it just this one?
There are more. There are more. So I think, all right. So
Did you want good
constructive
things? Sorry.
feedback. Don't use so much gradient.
Yeah.
Color, color palette. Let's be consistent. That's
Yeah.
that one. All right.
Some cool
Cactus
Phoenix.
Wren. Ooh,
I would like to take a stab at a Phoenix. That'd be great. That'd be fun to
Cactus
see.
Wren. That's
I'm gonna do another one. Here we go. All right. All right. We're gonna do this one. Here we go. Let's see how this one comes.
Oh,
my gosh. Oh,
Can you see it?
Yeah, I can already smell the perfume on my croissant that I bought. This feels
Okay.
this feels like the kind of first before we get to the design. This is the kind of place you go into and they'd be trying to sell you all the stuff you can already buy at Costco. Do you know that like cafe?
yes, like the
And
muffins.
and you're like, I get it. I could go to Costco and buy this muffin and this sports drink, but you're gonna sell it here.
for like $2 more.
So for our podcasters, we're looking at a design that says Einstein's in big purple font. There is a flower that
Which
takes
looks
up
like a
most.
lotus?
It looks
Lotus?
like a lotus flower that takes up most
it's
of the center of the
purple.
design.
Mhm.
Green.
And then at the bottom it looks like it might be the same font, but it's green, is cafe and bake shop.
I actually think my sister had that color green. Her room was painted that color green in like
Oh, yeah.
2001 when she was
Yep.
in middle school. That's a very specific green.
That's a very, that's
a
very,
line.
that's a 2001 green.
So talk to me
Brian,
about this.
So
Where-
Brian, okay, if
Yeah,
someone were to present this to you, how would you receive it? What's your feedback?
Well, how much better do you think you are than me to spell shop with 2 P's and an E? Where do you get off is what I would say, first of all. How freaking fancy do you think you are to spell shop SHOPPE? And you're called
Oh,
Einstein's.
Well,
Um,
it feels gourmet, doesn't it? Einstein, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
Oh.
let's review this. Let's get in there. You
Okay.
hand this to me. It's on my
Yeah.
desk.
Yes. Boom.
Okay.
And we're like, all right, this is what we're going with.
This is
This
it.
is what we felt like the
this
client
is
wanted
the look and feel of the entire like brand of this
of Einstein's.
cafe bake shop.
Man, that flower really does take up the entire screen, doesn't it?
It's very prominent. I look at this, I see flower shop.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel like you could have done something cool with Einstein's too? Einstein's, I don't know, like Albert Einstein's a cool looking dude.
He is a cool
Also,
dude.
I'm eating almonds and something terrible.
Okay.
Oh my, he's sugaring on
I'm
almonds.
emotional about this design.
He's very invested in this.
Brian, give the
Okay,
international sign for choking if you need
I
help.
would say
Yeah.
the font,
Not that we could help him.
the font choice.
our home.
That's a tough font that's a tough font. I just I don't.
You just can't.
You can't. I literally just can't. One, it looks like I typed in free font and clicked the first thing. I'm weeping. Guys, I'm eating these Costco snacks. And something
Did you get
horrible
him from
Brian, that's a free plug for Costco. On
got
this
some-
show, people pay for that kind of plug. Please.
I got it from Einstein's. They sold it. Okay. Here's the thing. I don't hate the airbrush on the flower. The airbrush is kind of cool.
Okay.
It's
All
not
right.
bad. It's not, the airbrush is not bad. The font, you got to be crafty to get that kind of like that font to work. That's tough.
Yeah.
It just feels so antique shop to me. Does anybody else like?
Yeah,
isn't that the
it's-
vibe you
Yeah.
get?
It's as I would say, old timey.
Old
Old-
time.
Yeah, and not in like a fun, not in kind of like
Not
a
like-
it's gonna be
yeah.
fun.
Not in a fresh,
I
fun
will
way.
say, Bryan, just so you know, the title of this show is called Don't Go to Art School. It's a sore subject around here. But I will say one thing I learned this week is we're learning about logos, and they did say that when you use more of like a scripty handwritten font style, it brings an element of a real person and like more of like a handcrafted.
Yeah, it can be relational.
Yeah, but this doesn't seem like scripty handwritten.
Yeah, I don't want a relationship with this.
I don't want this
The
relationship.
E makes me feel uncomfortable.
It makes me think that you're gonna give me a coffee cup, but there'd be a lipstick stain on my coffee cup. Is what I feel like. That's the
or
kind
like
of,
you know when the coffee sleeves have like ads on them like that, but like the whole cup.
Oh man. Oh man. Okay, so the learning here is choose the right font, be clear about it, and airbrush sometimes works. So
I'm not against the airbrush. Is kind of cool. They got something going there.
All right, so our final one, Bryan the Designer.
Two good ones.
Those were
I just can't though, guys.
We're in a segment called I Just Can't, and we're going to the final one. Here we go. Where is it? Screen sharing, and this is the final one. Here we go.
I can't really see.
I feel like there's more.
Oh, there
there we go. There we go.
Okay, so I'm going to describe it to the audience listening.
Okay.
So at the top, it looks like maybe there's kind of a texture. It looks maybe like it's a cardboard or a piece of paper. And then at the top, there's a coffee bean. It almost looks like a stamp. There's a coffee bean, but half the coffee bean is the bean, and then the other half is a series of matchsticks that have already been burnt that are kind of going in. So the dark part of the matchsticks that make up the coffee bean, and it says Matchstick Coffee Co. So okay,
yeah,
this is awesome.
I love this too.
Isn't it the other? So you can do so much with that negative space, and they took away. I mean, they just took away everything they didn't need, and then they just had. It looks like a stamp. This one is really cool.
I agree, and I love the texture. Even the texture of the background, it gives it a little bit of depth and feel. Like it gives it because you've got the stamped coffee bean, but then you've also got the texture of the background that play really, really well together.
I'm a coffee guy. So I'm a coffee guy. And I would say like part of the experience for me is either picking out the coffee shop, like if I'm in another city, or going to the grocery store and picking out the bag of coffee. I like to go to those. I probably pay too much for the coffee because it's the experience, when you go to the store and you get to look at the cool, bougie coffee bags. And I would buy this coffee bag for more money than I probably should.
You know what I like about it is it's super unique. Like there's a lot of logos with coffee beans in them, coffee shops, but there's something about this where I'm like, I have never seen that before.
Yeah, isn't it funny? The first two, like the phoenix and the lotus flower, it's like you can have a really good idea, but if you don't make it clean, simple, and just like nail it, it comes off so crazy.
Right.
Look at that typeface too on Matchstick with the K at the end and this is just great. I love this.
Yeah. So nice. Okay. So the last one got the stamp of approval from Bryan the Designer. It turns out he just can with Matchstick Coffee Company.
I just can with Matchstick.
He just can't.
I just can. This is a winner.
He can.
I guess the one thing I want to know.
There it is.
I actually think this kind of thing it's so good. It needs the city on it. Like I would send this to a friend in Dallas, or if I was going on a trip, I would circle this one because it's that cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that feedback of just that brand identity of going like I'm linking it to where I'm from. I'm making it more personal with where they're at. Where are they from?
You could do it under the coffee.
I'm gonna Google it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was our.
If they're in Seattle,
final.
I'm going.
I would go to Matchstick Coffee.
Exactly, and we're all in the greater Seattle area. So yeah, we could be considered coffee connoisseurs out here. And
what did you guys have any feedback for this one? Would you?
Okay, I've got a nitpicky thing, but this is like nitpicky. You want to go there?
Let's do this. You're in art school.
see the eye on matchstick.
Yeah.
I would have the lines of like the matches like match up with that eye. Only because your eye goes to it and then you kind of like scroll down.
Yeah.
Like if they lined up perfect, ooh, that would be money.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm sure that it's probably centered.
Yeah, that was probably it. The designer just centered it, but you could easily extend or shorten those matchsticks to have them end wherever you wanted them. That's good stuff.
I would wear it on a t-shirt.
I would
I
wear
would
that.
wear that.
That
I would
actually, I'm glad, Bryan the Designer, you said that, because there's a lot of times where I look at a design and then I think, oh, but would I wear that? And if it's a no, I'm like, I need to go back and make this cooler.
To be fair, I would wear Phoenix as ironically.
Just the Phoenix is what I would wear if it was just the P and the
Just
Phoenix.
the P and the gold cup.
You love the gold cup. Next time we see you, you're gonna have like a hat with a gold cup
The gold
on
cup
it,
and the steam.
or a coffee cup.
So a note for all designers, though, is it t-shirt worthy? Can be a barometer, a unit of measure.
Litmus test of
Yes.
design.
I love it.
This is a rad one, though. Good job.
This is sweet. I'm
Good
glad
job,
you guys
designer.
because it makes me sound not like a jerk. Because like
Yeah.
anyone a good one.
Yeah,
does.
it's good. Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah.
This
You
is
can.
fun. Thanks for inviting me on.
Thanks,
Brian,
for coming
thank
on,
you so
Brian.
much. Yeah, and
I love it. Bring me on again, and we'll do it maybe another round.
We'll have you back. Yeah, today we did logos. We'll do something else next time. Thanks, Brian.
Okay. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
See you. All right, Kylie. So that was
logos.
Come on, that's fun.
Like
yeah,
I'm glad you brought those.
Yeah.
Or no, you brought them, right?
I brought those. I just picked a couple, just random, kind of random. I did want to, that last one, because it was like I felt like it was a good design. I wanted to see what Brian would say, because Brian,
if you picked it apart.
Yeah. I just wondered.
Yeah, that was I love when I see logos, designs, posters, whatever it is, when an artist just gets creative, and it doesn't need to be over the top, but something that makes them stand out.
Yeah, and getting back to, so again, the episode's called Don't Go to Art School. Maybe we should have asked Bryan the Designer if he went to art school. I don't know. I mean, Kylie, come on. For you, it sounds like you would have said, "Oh, well, Brian's opinion is held in higher esteem because he went to art school."
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
But I will just okay, you want to go there?
Let's dive back in.
I will say personally, there are things that I was looking at on those logos that you brought, because I'd never seen them before. So immediately, the first thing I looked at. Art school has trained my brain and almost my eye to pick out certain things, like interesting. What's the first read here? And I took a whole class on color fundamentals, and I learned why you choose certain colors and what you do with them, and why specifically in logos, when you have a tiny little spot and you've got one shot to capture people to promote yourself. So I will say, just from even beginner in art school, I naturally knew what certain things to look for than I would have ever done before I went to school.
Absolutely. So it sounds like you would say that is one of the reasons why you would make an argument for going to art school, that your eye is more formally trained.
Yeah, formally trained when looking for things, but also I would say I save myself hours and hours of time. And again, this is a personal, note, but when I was creating things without any type of education, just kind of scrappy, taught myself learning, which I love. I got so much faster after going to school, because I had more of a clear focus. I knew what steps to take. I knew what I was doing. And there's a whole element of research and kind of forming and putting together your ideas before you ever start designing. And before I went to school, I would just jump in. I'd be like, yeah, give me matchstick coffee. Great. And I would just kind of like try and, I also found myself going on, things like Google or Pinterest and finding ideas and just trying to like, how do I take this idea and then just like try and make it my own? And I kind of became this like, relied heavily on trying to find something on the internet already made and then making it
Right.
my own. And now I'm like, oh, I know exactly which direction to go because I went through an entire design process of thinking, and here I am. So I would say, as an advocate, that time saving is huge.
Time saving. And it sounds like what you're saying also is just more of a formalized way of thinking. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. So here's the counter
Process.
argument to that one. Here's the counter argument to that
Okay,
one.
go ahead.
The counter argument to that one,
Okay.
especially in an interview situation, one of the things that I would often try to get at the heart at with a question or a series of questions
Okay.
was, are there any kind of preconceived notions or about design that would need to be undone at an agency that I was working at? So as I was putting teams together, I was kind of going, especially with someone
Sure.
coming directly out of art school. Now for you, I think it's a little bit different because you have all this design experience and you were like, this is my passion. And now you've supplemented that with a formal education.
Right.
So I think it's a little bit different, but I still think the point is valid.
I see what
And
you're getting at.
the point is this, is that when you come out of formal education, it's like, no, this is the way I need to think about this. And
Right.
sometimes that has to be undone.
Okay. Here's what, just off the top of my
Yeah,
head, here's what
let's
I
do
think.
yeah, this is great.
Let's jump into it. Whether you go to school or you don't, I would say no matter what, having the mindset of I am always learning is a humble, like really good approach to being on any team, whether it's a creative team or whatever you're doing in life, whatever your skill set or passion is. If you have the mindset of I am always learning, I'm always able to learn, I always want to learn, I think you are able to go so far because let's say you put together, and I'm just speaking creatively because that's our field, but
Yeah.
let's say you put together a creative team to market a new company and they hire us and I'm on a team with other artists and I throw out my opinion and somebody else is like, you know what, no, let's go this route. Even if I feel like I am so confident in this is the right way, I still think there is always a bonus to being like, okay, let's learn though, and let's as a team kind of collaborate and grow through that. Because there's been so many times where even when I had a really good opinion and it was like an opinion that was like educated, that where I'm like, I learned about this week in school, like I know I'm right. I've had designers and people I've worked with just surprise me, and learning to collaborate and say, okay, I'm going to listen. Like, let's explore this together.
I
So
think
whether you're a student or not, I think we're all learners. And if we don't lose that heart and that love for learning, I think we'll always go far. So I hope I answered that.
yeah, no, I 100%
Okay.
agree. And I think there are two things there really.
Yeah.
I think one is humility,
Yep.
because one of the things that can prevent what you're talking about is that call it ego or pride or call it whatever you like,
Right.
because there are amazing designers that become quite rigid in their
Yeah.
approach and rigid in their belief system, and it becomes a detriment to them because they don't have the humility to go,
Absolutely.
I'm willing to work. The other thing is, yeah, lifelong learner, no matter what. I don't care where you are in your career, because here's the thing, Skyly, is technology changes all the time. I mean, the way that you did something in whether formal art school or you trained yourself by YouTube and Udemy, those things are going to
Well,
change.
not only technology, but ideas, innovation, art in itself, algorithms on social
Yeah.
media, like it's always changing.
Yeah.
So the moment you take a stance and you say, I'm right on this topic,
Gotta be careful.
or I know what's best and I'm not budging.
See that?
No,
As soon as this finger right here comes out and you start waving it around like that,
no,
you
nobody
gotta be
wants to
careful
work with
because
those. Nobody wants to work with those people. And
right.
I've been on teams with those types of people, and it's like, hey, I get that you know about your field and you're passionate about your field, but there might be a better solution here with creative thinking than just saying this is how it is and this is how it always is.
And if you don't if you're not able to exhibit that flexibility, I think it becomes a challenge, especially if you are working with clients. If you have,
Oh,
whether it's a
right.
side hustle or something of your own, because the client is always going to come with some vision of their own. They're all, you know, you and I know we're creating a creative brief at the outset. It's like, okay, we take them through this exercise and we've got this creative brief that we're able to, you know, kind of share.
Right.
But yeah, exhibiting that flexibility, I think, is important. Um, so Kylie, I mean, the other thing that I want to bring into this conversation is just is the cost. I know, I mean, so for you and having gone, and I'll just share this, it's probably about 50-50 over my career and having put teams together.
Right.
And again, I think it's a
Hiring,
combination.
you mean, hiring
Yeah,
process,
right.
yeah.
Hiring.
Okay.
When looking at putting a team together, I'd say if I made a hiring decision and with someone that either
Right.
has that formal education or doesn't, it's probably about 50-50. And part of that is you know, just the way that talent has developed, but also just exhibiting hard work and all of those other things. But one of the things I want to ask you about is this cost, right?
Cost, yeah.
These, whether you're taking a loan or whether you're paying the thing off, or, you know,
Yeah,
that's the other
let's
thing to
talk
consider.
about that because I am an open book. And that's one thing that is really hard, which really prevented me from jumping in the first place to go to art school. Just because I mentioned it before, but I am a mom and I have kids, and so it's hard to put a lot of money in investing into myself. That's just kind of a struggle and a limbo that I went through. And I am a pros and cons person all the way. So anytime we are making a big decision, like my husband and I will pray about it and I will make a pros and cons list, like always. And I couldn't stop overflowing with pros. I would say con number one, time and money. Like they are
Yeah.
so hard and they're such valuable resources that it has to be something you're super passionate about. I have taken out some student loans. I also have been paying for it, but I will say this. So I work part-time. I'm going to school part-time. I launched my own business doing freelance design work, part-time, and then I'm a mom full-time. So my time is like, you know,
Right.
but I am passionate about it. Everything I'm doing kind of flows together. And I am, as an artist, I mean, Jason, you could probably even speak to this because we've worked on teams, the artwork I was producing before I went to school and where I am now. Can't you tell the difference?
100%. 100%. And I would say, having worked together and seen kind of the trajectory of part of your career, at least,
right,
that you're a lead designer now more than you are just on a team
right,
and being a designer on a team. I think I've
right,
seen you get named the lead designer much more often. So
right,
I
right.
definitely, yeah.
So cost, I mean, if you're an artist and you're listening to this out there in whatever field you're thinking, and if you're on the fence about going to school, if money is a really hard issue, then I would say maybe pause first, take some online classes, teach yourself. Like there's so many, especially right now in the season that we're in, there's so many like available free resources online that you can. YouTube is a huge one. You could YouTube look up how to make a vector logo and it's like there's
Right.
1,000 million views, all these different ones that you can click. Research and make sure that you can, because you have the ability, whatever it is that you're pursuing, to find education for free and training. I would say I did that, and I did that for 3 to 4 years. And then I actually got hired and worked as a production artist in a field, and I plateaued. I hit a spot where I thought everything I have taught myself, read about, watched has got me here. And now I'm ready to take the next level. And I knew that money would be hard, but I also waited until I was in a spot that, a lot of my friends, just our age group, are like already went through college and now they're paying it off. And I'm like,
Right.
young kids back in it, so, but I waited till I was in a spot that money wasn't the final factor. And just even circling back, that's what Elizabeth Gilbert talked about. Like, don't go to art school if you're going to get into thousands of dollars of debt and you have no resource or way to pay that off. So I would just say, like, if you're out there, there are so many resources. I am a huge advocate for being scrappy, teaching yourself, figuring it out. Personally, I hit a point where I thought, I want some formal education. I want to take it to the next level, and I want to build a confidence in me as an artist.
Yeah.
And I want to start charging what I feel like I'm worth. And school has made that difference for me.
Right. And in many ways, that's exactly what it is. It's that personal decision of where you are, where you want to go, and what you've been able to achieve or not achieve at any given time in your career.
Also, Jason, I haven't asked you this yet, but I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Just because we are on the fence about this and you're kind of taking more of a side of don't go to art school.
Yeah.
Did you go to art school?
I didn't go to art school.
Okay.
I have a degree in marketing.
Okay.
So you could make the argument that right there's an equivalent there. And if you propose that as an argument, I might also say most of what I learned that I applied in my day-to-day is from the roles that I was in, not the education that I got. And so that practical application of working with clients, really putting your hand and your mind to work, was
Were the
more
opportunities you were
that's the counter argument. Good job.
I was totally gonna ask that.
That's
is it because you went to school?
So would have you gotten that opportunity to get the practical experience if you hadn't got the education? And that's why this is a legitimate, conversation and debate, because I don't know, would you not, and that's where, like, especially in art, from an art standpoint, a creative standpoint, that talent, if you can bring that portfolio to bear, I think that, that portfolio spoke volumes. When I was interviewing teams to bring a designers on board, it was often that portfolio that would really make a difference to go, okay, yeah, we want to take this artist, this designer, this person to the next round. And so, yeah, it all depends. It all depends.
Well, maybe we could end this segment with a challenge to our listeners, because so we talked a lot about, it was called Don't Go to Art School. Do you go? Do you not? And I know a lot of, like, even just personal friends that are artists struggle with that. So I just kind of want to, like, challenge you out there. If you are listening to this, if you are watching this, what advice would you give them if they're choosing to go to school or not?
I think that decision really has to come down to, where are you? What does your portfolio look like? Because a lot of times that portfolio was the entryway to the next interview or to the beginning interview. So I think, what have you done so far? And what do you think is the next step for your career? if you have watched every YouTube video and gone online and taken
that plateau.
multiple courses, and you're feeling like, I don't know how to get to the next level. I can see it. I know it's there. Maybe it's something to consider. But yeah, those are the things that come to mind. Both what you've done already and where you feel you are, and then also what your passion is. Making sure that if you're going to take on this type of debt, you know, is this really the trajectory that you want to go? Is this really the direction that you want to head? So I think those are things that
Well, I'm so excited that we did this topic. One, because it's near and dear to my heart. Two, because I think people need to hear it. They need to hear both sides, from an artist standpoint, from a hiring standpoint, and kind of where they fall in that. I know we've got a bunch of really fun topics coming up soon, and hopefully we will be in a studio together. But until then, from our houses.
Yes, from our houses. Great to be here. Do it. At least do, you know, an episode.
Still staying connected.
And we will see you next time.